Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamala.
So I'm going to see people come forward. Vadana Ujvala Bahu Koti Chandrajini Vadana Ujvala Gala de Sevana Mala Kore Jalamala Gala de Sevana Mala Kore Jalamala Shiva Sukha Narada Preme Gada Gada Shiva Sukha Narada Preme Gada Gada Bhakti Vinoda Dekhe Gaurara Sampada Bhakti Vinoda Dekhe Gaurara Sampada Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pastatari Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Raja Gokula Nanda, Raja Gokula Nanda Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshmana Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshmana Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Everyone can just do pranams. I'm going to recite some prayers, and after each prayer you say Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Pairajikacharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Pairajikacharya Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Ananti Koti Vaishnavinda Ki. Nama Shashri Haridas Thakur Ki. प्रेम से करो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपी गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की मायपुर वृंदावन धाम की नीलाचल जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की गंगा देवी अमर देवी की हरिनाम संकीर्तन की सामवेद भक्तवृंद की निताय गौर प्रमंदी. All glory humble devotees, all glory humble devotees, all glory Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Prabhupada. So we're going to recite prayers to Nrsingadev for protection. Everyone can sit down for 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we'd just like to welcome all our young guests here, the St. Albans branch of the Scouts, Thank you for coming today. It's really nice to have you here. So we're just going to do a few minutes more singing. And we're going to do prayers to Lord Nrsingadev, who is the protector of the devotees. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Dahine Hiranyakashi Puravakshaha Shila Sangana Kalayi Ito Nisingo Parato Nisingo Ito Yato Yamitato Nisingo Toya Mahe Nisingo Ridahe Nisingo Narasingha Madhim Charanam Prabhude Avatara Kamalavare Nakam Adhuta Singham Lalita Hiranyakashipu Chanu Bringham Keshavadeta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Avakara Kamalavare Nakam Adhuta Singham Lalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringham Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Jaya Nrsimhadev 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 Jaya Nrsimhadev 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 Jaya Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki Iskon Gurvind ki Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. So thank you everyone for coming this evening for Gaura Aarti. So the next Aarti will be at 9 o'clock, but they are serving some Mahaprasad next door. So make sure you all get some Mahaprasad before you go home. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Let's go live.
Not to me.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodana Madhu Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Jai Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Jai Shri Shri Gaurmata ki, Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Jai. Okay. So today we are continuing with our discussions on the Bhagavad Gita, and today we are reading from chapter 10, verse 4 and 5. Okay. So chapter 10 is entitled Opulence of the Absolute, verse 4 and 5. Buddhir-jnanam asammoha shama satyam damasamaha sukham dukkham bhavo bhavo bhayam cha bhayam eva cha ahimsa samata tushtish tapodanam yasho yasaha bhavanti bhavabhutanam matta eva pritagvidaha. So translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The purport for this two verses is really wrong, so please bear with me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The different qualities of living entities, be they good or bad, are all created by Krishna, and they are described here. Intelligence refers to the power to analyze things in their proper perspective, and knowledge refers to understanding what is spirit and what is matter. Ordinary knowledge obtained by a university education pertains only to matter, and it is not accepted here as knowledge. Knowledge means knowing the distinction between spirit and matter. In modern education, there is no knowledge about spirit. They are simply taking care of the material elements and bodily needs. Therefore, academic knowledge is not complete. Asammoha, freedom from doubt and delusion, can be achieved when one is not hesitant and when he understands the transcendental philosophy. Slowly but surely he becomes free from bewilderment. Nothing should be accepted blindly. Everything should be accepted with care and with caution. Shama, tolerance and forgiveness, should be practiced. One should be tolerant and excuse the minor offenses of others. Satyam, truthfulness, means that facts should be presented as they are for the benefit of others. Facts should not be misrepresented. According to social conventions, it is said that one can speak the truth only when it is palatable to others, but that is not truthfulness. The truth should be spoken in a straightforward way so that others will understand actually what the facts are. If a man is a thief and if people are warned that he is a thief, that is truth. Although sometimes the truth is unpalatable, one should not refrain from speaking it. Truthfulness demands that the facts be presented as they are for the benefit of others. That is the definition of truth. Control of the senses means that the senses should not be used for unnecessary personal enjoyment. There is no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses, but unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. Therefore, the senses should be restrained from unnecessary use. Similarly, one should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. That is called sama. One should not spend one time pondering over earning money. That is a misuse of the thinking power. The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings, and that should be presented authoritatively. The power of thought should be developed in association with persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons and spiritual masters, and those whose thinking is highly developed. Sukham, pleasure or happiness, should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of the spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And similarly, that which is painful or which causes distress is that which is unfavorable for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Anything favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness should be accepted, and anything unfavorable should be rejected. Bhava, birth, should be understood to refer to the body. As far as the soul is concerned, there is neither birth nor death. That we have discussed in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Birth and death apply to one's embodiment in the material world. Fear is due to worrying about the future. A person in Krishna consciousness has no fear because by his activities, he is sure to go back to the spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, his future is very bright. Others, however, do not know what their future holds. They have no knowledge of what the next life holds. So they are therefore in constant anxiety. If we want to get free from anxiety, then the best course is to understand Krishna and be situated always in Krishna consciousness. In that way, we will be free from all fear. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37, it is stated, Bhayam dvitiya bhini veshataha syat. Fear is caused by our absorption in the illusory energy. But those who are free from the illusory energy, those who are confident that they are not the material body, that they are spiritual parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who are therefore engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Godhead, have nothing to fear. Their future is very bright. This fear is a condition of persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. Abhayam, fearlessness, is possible only for one in Krishna consciousness. Ahimsa, non-violence, means that one should not do anything which will put others into misery or confusion. Material activities that are promised by so many politicians, sociologists, philanthropists, etc., do not produce very good results because the politicians and philanthropists have no transcendental vision. They do not know what is actually beneficial for human society. Ahimsa means that people should be trained in such a way that the full utilization of the human body can be achieved. The human body is meant for spiritual realization, so any movement or any commissions which do not further that end commit violence on the human body. That which furthers the future spiritual happiness of the people in general is called non-violence. Samatha, equanimity, refers to freedom from attachment and aversion. To be very much attached or to be very much detached is not the best. The material world should be accepted without attachment or aversion. That which is favorable for prosecuting Krishna consciousness should be accepted. That which is unfavorable should be rejected. That is called samatha, equanimity. A person in Krishna consciousness has nothing to reject and nothing to accept save in terms of its usefulness in the prosecution of Krishna consciousness. Tushti, satisfaction, means that one should not be eager to gather more and more material goods by unnecessary activity. One should be satisfied with whatever is obtained by the grace of the Supreme Lord. That is called satisfaction. Tapas means austerity or penance. There are many rules and regulations in the Veda which apply here, like rising early in the morning and taking a bath. Sometimes it is very troublesome to rise early in the morning, but whatever voluntary trouble one may suffer in this way is called penance. Similarly, there are prescriptions for fasting on certain days of the month. One may not be inclined to practice such fasting, but because of his determination to make advancement in the science of Krishna consciousness, he should accept such bodily troubles when they are recommended. However, one should not fast unnecessarily or against Vedic injunctions. One should not fast for some political purpose that is described in Bhagavad Gita as fasting in ignorance. And anything done in ignorance or passion does not lead to spiritual advancement. Everything done in the mode of goodness does advance one. However, and fasting done in terms of the Vedic injunctions enriches one in spiritual knowledge. As far as charity is concerned, one should give 50% of his earnings to some good cause. And what is a good cause? It is that which is conducted in terms of Krishna consciousness. That is not only a good cause, but the best cause, because Krishna is good. His cause is also good. Thus, charity should be given to a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. According to Vedic literature, it is enjoined that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. This practice is still followed, although not very nicely in terms of the Vedic injunction. But still, the injunction is that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. Why? Because they are engaged in higher cultivation of spiritual knowledge. A Brahmana is supposed to devote his whole life to understanding Brahman. Brahma Janati Brahmana. One who knows Brahman is called a Brahmana. Thus, charity is offered to the Brahmanas because they are always engaged in higher spiritual service and have no time to earn their livelihood. In the Vedic literature, charity is also to be awarded to one in the renounced order of life, the sannyasis. The sannyasis beg from door to door, not for money but for missionary purposes. The system is that they go from door to awaken the householders from the slumber of ignorance. Because the householders are engaged in family affairs and have forgotten their actual purpose in life, awakening their Krishna consciousness, it is the business of the sannyasis to go as beggars to the householders and encourage them to be Krishna conscious. As it is said in the Vedas, one should awake and achieve what is due him in this human form of life. This knowledge and method is distributed by the sannyasis. Hence, charity is to be given to the renouncer of life, to the Brahmanas, and similar good causes, not to any whimsical cause. Yashas, fame, should be according to Lord Chaitanya, who said that a man is famous when he is known as a great devotee. That is real fame. If one has become a great man in Krishna consciousness and it is known, then he is truly famous. One who does not have such fame is infamous. All these qualities are manifest throughout the universe in human society and in the society of the demigods. There are many forms of humanity on other planets, and these qualities are there. Now, for one who wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, Krishna creates all these qualities, but the person develops them himself from within. One who engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord develops all the good qualities as arranged by the Supreme Lord. Of whatever we find, good or bad, the origin is Krishna. Nothing can manifest itself in this material world which is not in Krishna. That is knowledge. Although we know that things are differently situated, we should realize that everything flows from Krishna. Really, really long purport, but everything has been described so clearly by Srila Prabhupada in this particular purport. So before we start, we'll just say our prayers. I'll make it really short because it's already 8. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatirubhascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Okay, so this chapter is entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. So here Krishna is actually talking about all his opulences. So the background is that in the 9th chapter, Krishna is actually talking about the devotional service. So he's glorifying devotional service and he's glorifying the devotees. He clearly establishes that devotional service to him is the supreme path. And clearly in the chapter 9, he says that, demigod worship or worshipping the ancestors or all of those paths is inferior to the path of performing devotional service to the Supreme. So now here in the 10th chapter, Krishna continues to discuss his opulences. And it is not that he's trying to, he's doing it out of a sense of ego. Somebody in the material world may talk about himself or glorify his qualities because of false pride and ego. But Krishna is doing this here because he wants to encourage devotees. Whenever devotees hear about glorification of Krishna, they feel great pleasure. So he wants to give pleasure to his devotees. And at the same time, he wants to encourage others who are probably not devotees yet to hear about his qualities and to understand that how great Krishna is, how lovable Krishna is, and how it is for their own welfare that one should actually surrender to Krishna's lotus feet and take to the devotional path. So Obviously, we know that Krishna is not very easy to understand, and in the previous few verses of this chapter, it is discussed how even the great demigods and the sages don't really understand Krishna. It is as difficult to understand Krishna as it is to, try and scoop out water from an ocean using a tiny spoon. One would not be able to do that. It's impossible, almost impossible. So same way, it is very, very difficult to understand Krishna. But still, if we are able to come to the platform where we surrender to him, then Krishna gives us these qualities. Krishna is saying here in this verse that all the qualities come from me, and in fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says that all the demigods and their exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge, everything becomes manifest in somebody who develops unalloyed devotion for Vasudeva. So the whole point is, if we want to get any qualities, any good qualities, we will get it from Krishna. Surprisingly, Krishna is also talking about bad qualities over here. And that sometimes is a bit of a strange one for some people. But Krishna says everything comes from me. So we will discuss how a quality can become good or bad, depending on the circumstances. So let's take, let's say, intelligence. So we're talking about intelligence, we are talking about knowledge. The point is, yes, there is intelligence, but what is true intelligence? True intelligence is when one can understand who is Krishna, who am I, what is my relation with Krishna. So true intelligence and knowledge is that intelligence, that knowledge. Otherwise, everything else is material. And we can take one pastime from Krishna Leela to understand this. And this is the pastime of Lord Brahma, Brahma Vimohan Leela. Now the demigods, one cannot become a demigod if one is not a devotee and if one is not intelligent and has the knowledge. However, even Lord Brahma was bewildered because at that time he was not using his intelligence to understand who Krishna is. When Lord Brahma saw Krishna, having his pastimes with all his cowherd friends on the bank of the Yamuna, eating, taking remnants from his friends, having, yogurt and what's that? Chida dahi, so that rice in his hand. And Brahma is thinking that, he's just a little boy. He's playing with his friends. He's taking remnants from him. Who is this? This cannot be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so he tried to test Krishna. He misused his intelligence, he misused his knowledge, and he tried to test Krishna. And I guess people assembled here, all of you devotees, know the story, but let's just still go into it in short. So what he did is he hid all his cowherd friends and the calves in a cave. He wanted to test Krishna, he wanted to see what Krishna will do. And obviously, Krishna manifested as all his friends, as all the cowherd boys and the calves. And when Brahma comes back and he sees that everybody is present here, he's again confused. He goes back to the cave, he says, oh, but they are here as well. And then he goes back on the bank of the Yamuna and he says, the boys are here as well. And it is at that time that he understands that, I misunderstood. This boy here, this cowherd boy, is none other than my most worshipable Supreme Lord Krishna. And at that time, he offers wonderful prayers to Krishna, which is in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this was misuse of intelligence in that sense. And that is what we are doing here. We think that by advancing, we've got so many machines, we've got great technology, we've got so many things, which is great, and the scientists are doing wonderful things. But what real intelligence is to know that without the spiritual spark touching all these machines are just metal and iron and whatever else. A computer will not work if a human being does not make it work. A car will not drive itself. I know we are having driverless cars now and driverless trains and that. But even that is being programmed by computers, which is being programmed by human beings. So there is a spiritual spark there. So real intelligence is to understand that it is the spiritual spark which is controlling all of these things. Real knowledge is to know that this spiritual spark is part and parcel of Krishna. And without Krishna, this spark is nothing. That is real knowledge. And then Krishna talks about freedom from doubt and delusion. When you have this intelligence, when you have this understanding, then there will be absolutely no doubt in your mind. No doubt that I have been given this human form of life so that I can understand what the real purpose is. Why am I here? Where am I heading? What is going to happen after this? Like Prabhupada says in the purport that bhava or birth should be understood to refer to this body. It is just birth and death of this body, but the soul is eternal. The soul never dies. And to get understanding of all this is real knowledge. Then further, in this particular verse, 20 qualities have been discussed. So we won't go into all of those details. We'll just refer to some few qualities. Prabhupada and Krishna talks about control of the senses and control of the mind. Unless one is able to control the senses, one will not be able to advance spiritually. Because if we are not able to utilize our senses and our mind for the real purpose that we have been given this human body, then it is as good as an animal's body. The animal does not have that kind of intelligence to think, what is birth, what is death, why am I in this cycle? Animal doesn't have that. Animal just with its it's just its inherent nature lives that kind of life. But human being has been given that intelligence that he is able to control his senses, control his mind, and use this body to perfect his life in spiritual realization. And here we have the example of Prahlad Maharaj. He was just 5 years old. He was only 5 years old, but he perfected his life. He perfected this human body of life because he understood that the only perfection of his life is to become a devotee of the Lord, to surrender to the Supreme Lord. So it doesn't matter if one has a long life of 100 years, 500 years, 5,000 years, if you're not able to reach the perfection of life. Even if you have a life of 5 years, but if you reach the perfection, that is a glorious life. That is what one should be striving for. And Prabhupada says in one of his lectures that you may think that you have a long life. You may think that right now I'm so young. I've got my entire life to think about spiritual progress, to think about spiritual realization. But like Yudhishthira Maharaj says in one of the pastimes that the amazing thing is that there is death all around us, and yet we think it is not going to happen to me. Death is not going to come to me. Death can come to any of us at any point. Nobody knows that. Nobody is aware of that. And thus to think that you have a long life is the most unintelligent thought that one will have. because you never know what's going to happen. And thus, right from the beginning, one has to think, how can I perfect this human form of life? How can I control my senses, control my mind, so that I can surrender to the Supreme Lord, so that I can take to devotional practices and become a devotee of the Lord. In the 9th chapter, the concluding verse of the 9th chapter was, I'll just read it. The concluding verse was, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru, mam eva shashi yukvaivam atmana mat parayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So Krishna is saying that that is the only way. That is the only way that we can go back to Godhead. And in the following paragraphs in the purports, Prabhupada is describing how for a devotee, he is completely abhayam. There is no fear. And there is no fear because he knows that he is going to go back home, back to Godhead. I think that is such a hope-giving statement for all of us. We all sometimes struggle. We all have our ups and downs. We all think, what is going to happen? Am I on the right path? Is this the right thing for me? And Prabhupada is saying that once you're in Krishna consciousness, once you become a devotee, once you surrender to the Lord, you don't have to worry what the future holds, because you will go back home, back to Godhead. So Abhayam is spoken about. Then there is ahimsa, and it's essential to understand. Everybody understands ahimsa as non-violence. Non-violence to the physical self is commonly understood. But here, it's so important where Prabhupada is talking about the human body is meant for spiritual realization. So any movement or any commission which do not further that end commit violence. What a deep meaning. Because one would really just think of violence as, at least that is what I understood before coming to Krishna consciousness. I still have a lot of Jain friends. I don't know if you know this. In India, they follow Jainism. And Jainism really advocates ahimsa in all forms. And they're very, very strict, some of them. Strict in the sense that they will not have any root vegetables, because obviously they think, when these vegetables are growing in the ground and you pull them out, then there are these worms and whatever which will die. They do not celebrate Diwali because they think if there is fireworks, then the organisms in the air will die. And some of them who are really strict and in the renounced order in Jainism also wear a mask constantly so that when they breathe, they don't breathe in organisms and they don't kill them subconsciously and unconsciously. So they do follow ahimsa very strictly. But here Prabhupada is explaining the meaning of ahimsa in a much deeper way. Ahimsa to the human body is when you are not allowing the human body to naturally progress towards its spiritual goal. That is ahimsa. That is a very, very deep meaning, and something that really kind of touched me, that one has to think that whenever we are not progressing ourselves or not inspiring and encouraging others around us, whom we can influence. We cannot influence the entire world, but whom we can influence. If we are not encouraging and inspiring people to strive towards reaching that goal of realization as to who we are, why we are here, then that is actually committing ahimsa. That's violence to the human body. Then there are further qualities described about, satisfaction, how one should be satisfied, and this is discussed in our Nectar of Instruction also, where it says that one must not be too greedy for anything, because if you are, then that will be a hindrance in your Krishna consciousness. So one should be satisfied. I was listening to one class once, and very interestingly, this, I'm sure it's a common thing, but when I first heard it, it really kind of, it just made me like, oh, wow. And the Prabhuji was giving the class, he said, we don't go around looking for distress. It comes to us because it is in our quota. This material world is full of distress. We will get distress, some form or the other. Distress comes to us because it is written. We've got our karma, we've got this life based on our past karma, and we will get the results of the karma, either in this life or probably next life, but we will get the results. We know that. So we don't go around looking for distress. Distress will come to us. And same way, our quota of happiness and success will also come to us. And here in this paragraph, Prabhupada says that one should be satisfied with whatever is obtained by the grace of the Supreme Lord. That is called satisfaction. There is no point in trying and trying and trying. What is not meant to be will not be. But people just keep thinking, I wish I could get this and I'll be happy. A bigger house, a better car, kids married, house for the kids. It's just never ending. These things just never end. And that is why one has to reach a stage where one should say, this is it. This is what was meant for me. I am satisfied with this. I should not struggle for any more. Yes, I have to maintain myself. So I have to endeavor, which is fine. But at least I should know that there's no point in trying to struggle more, because if it's not meant for me, it's not going to come to me, no matter what I do. So that is satisfaction. And then the last paragraph of this purport is very important, and I'm just going to repeat a couple of lines of this paragraph. It says, all these qualities are manifest throughout the universe, in human society and in the society of the demigods. There are many forms of humanity on other planets, and these qualities are there. So this again is interesting, that modern scientists and modern science thinks that only the Earth planet is inhabited. There is nobody else on any other planet. And we are going to go to Mars, and we are going to inhabit Mars, and we are going to take people there, and we are going to go on the moon planet, and we are going to do all of these things. But clearly it says here, there are many forms of humanity on other planets. So when we talk about the 8,400,000 species, we understand that these 8,400,000 species are distributed throughout the universe. Even on the sun planet, we know that there is a living entity. We don't understand it because our material consciousness is very limited. So we think we only can perceive what we can see around us, but there is much more to it. And then it says that Krishna creates all these qualities, and Krishna is saying that. Krishna says in the verse that all of these qualities are created by me alone. However, it also says that the person has to develop them himself from within. And again, we can take the example of Lord Brahma. He was given the intelligence, but how a quality can become good or bad in the circumstance and in the situation that you use it. Like the first paragraph says that the different qualities of living entities, be they good or bad, are all created by Krishna. So then the question is, why would Krishna create something bad? Krishna does not create anything bad. It is how you use it. In one Pandal program, I think this was in Bombay, and when Prabhupada was preaching, and then one Westerner who was in the program was very influenced by Prabhupada, and he went up to Prabhupada and he said that if everybody becomes Krishna conscious, what a wonderful place it will be. There will be no anger. And Prabhupada said, why? Do you think anger is bad? So the point that Prabhupada was trying to make, and then he went on to explain how Hanuman used anger when he went to Lanka and he burned, parts of Lanka because he wanted to, show to Ravana, and he was angry with Ravana. So that kind of anger, when it is used in the service of the Lord, is not bad. Likewise, we see that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when the two characters, Jagai and Madai, when they hurt Nityanand Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so angry that he was willing to use his Sudarshan Chakra and kill them at that exact moment. So again, anger is not bad. The point is, as a devotee, one is said that one should control your anger. So when it comes to yourself, one must control your anger and one must be humble. But when it is the case of blasphemy of the Lord or of the Lord's devotees, then that is the right place to use your anger. So any quality that has been given to us by Krishna can become good or bad depending on how you use that quality, in what situation and circumstance you use that quality. And that is why all the qualities, Krishna says, everything is coming from me, and we have to learn to develop all these qualities from within, to engage all of these qualities in the service of the Lord and in the service of the Lord's devotees. Because nothing can manifest in this world which is not in Krishna. Everything is in Krishna, and that is why it comes over here. So everything flows from Krishna. So the point is how we are going to use these qualities. And I just wanted to discuss another few points which I have written down. Yeah, so the important points from this verse, just to kind of round off and, Srila Prabhupada says all these qualities are manifested throughout the universe. Important point. Human beings are not just on Earth planet, they are on different planets, and all of these qualities manifest. For one who wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, the person has to develop qualities himself from within. Krishna will give us these things. He is giving us intelligence. He is giving us knowledge. He is giving us all these qualities. But how we use these qualities, that depends on us. And that is how, by able to discriminate where we use what in the service of Krishna, we can advance ourselves. One who engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord develops all the good qualities as arranged by the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada says that in the purport. And then it says that all of these, again the same thing, all of these qualities come from Krishna's energy. So everything is coming from Krishna. So that's really the sum total of this particular verse. Very long purport, but actually Prabhupada is simply trying to describe all these various qualities and then coming to the conclusion that yes, everything is coming from Krishna, and how we use it, how we want to advance in Krishna consciousness depends on how we develop these qualities. So I will stop here. It is almost 8:30. If there's any questions or comments, corrections, questions, anything, or if you are satisfied, no questions, then we will stop here.
I'm very satisfied with what you were saying. I just wanted to ask you, ahimsa, you say ahimsa, and then the opposite to ahimsa?
Himsa.
Himsa and ahimsa.
Ahimsa. Violence and
Violence and
non-violence.
violence. So therefore, if you were aware you were practicing himsa, non-violence, you were aware that somebody was actually committing a violent act, but you did nothing. Where are you placed?
Prabhupada always said that we must use our intelligence to see whether we are in a position to intervene or no. And that is very, very important. If you are in a position to intervene, then one must. But if you are not, and if you think that A, it is not going to stop the action, B, it may put you in a difficult situation, then it is best not to intervene. So one has to, again, see, this is where then Krishna is giving us the intelligence. If we are in a position, sometimes let's say that you see let's say children, stray dog. I know stray dogs are not seen in the UK as much, but in India and all. And if you see children, say, hurting a stray dog with stones and just for the sake of it, and you can stop that. Because, you can say to the children that, oh, don't do that, that's not good. So you've stopped an act of ahimsa. But let's say that if there is a slaughterhouse and animals are being slaughtered, that is wrong. But you also should be aware that you will not be able to stop that because the person who's doing that will not. What is the authority that you have? If it is allowed by the government, if it is allowed by the society and accepted, you have no authority to stop it. So one has to use the intelligence to see where I can intervene and where it doesn't make sense for me to intervene. So that is important. Yeah.
It's an interesting, and also as a Vaishnava to also to be aware of not to cause offence, which should also be.
It is a very like Prabhupada says that you're actually on a knife's edge, but you wouldn't obviously to somebody who is slaughtering animals. Even if you say something, I personally, this is again me speculating, I don't think I'll be causing any offense to him. But the point is, it is not going to make any difference to him because he doesn't care. No. He doesn't care, and instead, he might do something to hurt you or harm you because he has the backing of the society and the authorities. When a society is backing something like this, it's very difficult for one individual to do something. Yes, there are ways where you can participate in, trying to do this, where we have organizations like PETA and we've got organizations like, who are fair treatment of the animals and, all of that. One can take part in that, in that sense. Not actively being able to do something, but at least passively being part of these organizations may help. So you are trying to do what you can in your capacity. So.
Also we know that through our karmic manifestation in our next birth, if our unpious activities would be, for instance, the person that's slaughtering animals will continue to indefinitely continue to be in that mode of ignorance. Somebody that has performed pious activities in previous life and will automatically come to realization in that lifetime for those reasons.
Yes.
But then people that are conscious, self-aware, Krishna conscious, if you like, really then we're here to try and encourage these other people to become Krishna conscious.
Correct.
But there is also at that point where you feel there is no point in engaging.
But if we read what our acharyas say is that for a Kanishta Adhikari, Kanishta, that is a new devotee or some, I'm speaking for myself, let's say, I am not in a position where I think comfortable and confident that I will be able to influence somebody like that. I may be able to influence, if a person is in ignorance or is innocent, I think I can talk to that person because I think I can influence that person. But if somebody has very, very strong thoughts or strong atheistic ideas or strong ideas that, I'm doing this and this is right, I don't have the power to influence that. But we know that Uttamadhikari or, somebody who's a pure devotee has that power to change him. And we can only pray that if it is written in his karma that he is going to meet with such devotees and change himself, then it may happen, because it does happen. We know of so many people who come from backgrounds who have, all of Prabhupada's disciples, when he came to the West, all of his disciples were meat eaters. They did not know any other lifestyle except that. They did not know that you could even have vegetarian meals. Every meal was meat. But they met Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was able to change them completely. So, we know that we've got such advanced devotees and such empowered acharyas in ISKCON, in our society, who can do that. So again, one has to gauge where one is at. Am I in that position where I think I can influence this kind of person? If I think I can, then it is my duty to do it. But if I know that, if I go into a discussion with him, it might actually affect my thoughts, my mentality, I better safeguard my Bhakti Lata Bij, which is actually just a tiny creeper. It is not yet a firm tree with a good foundation and deep roots. So.
I can relate to obviously these things within where I am with my own understanding and how I can engage with some people.
Yeah.
At that level, and others realise actually it's better just to
stay away. Yeah.
For that same reason, because they can get quite angry.
Yes. Yes.
Or preach or trying to preach.
Yes.
Or just even trying to lead by example can be offensive.
Correct. Correct.
People that are
Yes.
unaware.
Yes. Yes. And then if they say something, let's say if they say something, which is blasphemous to the Lord or to ISKCON or to Srila Prabhupada, then they are creating more bad karma for themselves. So in a sense, I'm becoming an instrument for them creating more bad karma. So why should I? Exactly. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Any other? No. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll stop here. Thank you so much for your questions and discussions. It helps.